in high definition from the council chambers at the City Administration Building located at 401 West Owen K. Garriott. Please stay tuned as Mayor Bill Shuey presides over the meeting. Thank you for joining us for the Enid City Commission meeting. If you have any questions or comments, visit our
The invocation this evening will be given by David Miller with the World Harvest Church. And Chris, would you lead us in the flag salute?
Father, we thank you for the city of Enid, God, for the blessings that you have given us. God, I pray that you would continue to bless our city, Father, as we follow you. God, we invite you into this meeting because we know where you are, there is no darkness at all. God, I pray tonight that you would bless the council, Father, and that you would bless each one of us for their service. God, that you would lead us to wisdom, that we would see clearly what direction you would want us to go. Father, we love you. God, we need you. We ask these things in Jesus' name.
Thank you.
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Going to go back to item 1. We are all present this evening. Under item 4, consider approval of minutes of the regular commission meeting of March 3, 2016, the special commission meeting of March 11, 2016.
Motion to approve.
Motion by Ron, second by Rodney. Please cast your vote.
David.
Was that David?
Doesn't matter.
You threw your voice, David. Kind of like Rodney. Motion carries 7-0. Under item 5, awards, presentations, proclamations, and organizational business. Item 5.1, present the pet available for adoption at the city animal shelter. That's a load.
Gene Robertson with Enid Animal Control. I brought tonight, roughly, it's about a 7-month-old, roughly, mixed shepherd lab, named her Sassy. She needs a good home. She comes available on Friday, and we have a lot of animals out there. We need people out to adopt them. So far, we're having a real good turnout. Let's keep it going that way if we can. Our hours are from 10 to 6, Monday through Friday, 12 to 3 on Saturday and Sunday.
She's pretty sassy.
Take it out to put it in Gerald, yeah, put it in Gerald's car.
Yeah. Hide that dog.
We do have something very special that I will read. It is a declaration. On Thanksgiving weekend 2015, an ice storm hit the state of Oklahoma, leaving elevated surfaces coated with ice and caused power lines and tree limbs to sag and break across much of western Oklahoma. and in Enid. Much of the success for the timely removal of the ice storm tree limb debris was due to these City of Enid departments: solid waste, water reclamation, water production, stormwater, and roadway maintenance, parks, tech services, public works management services. City Manager Gerald Gilbert said, "I appreciate and applaud the citizenry for their patience during this monumental extended brush cleanup effort. I'm very pleased with the city employees' efforts to remove the more than 10,000 tons of storm debris since the November and the December 2015 ice storms. In addition, 10,693 trips to the landfill were recorded over the time period since the winter storm. Therefore, on this 15th day of March 2016, I, Bill Shuey, Mayor of Enid, along with my fellow Enid City Commissioners, let it be known it is our privilege to go on record to publicly thank the City of Enid employees that worked diligently in removing the T-limb debris from our community. Congratulations on a job well done." If you want to convert 10,000 tons of storm debris to pounds, that's 20 million pounds. It's a lot of weight out there at the landfill. Anyway, they did an excellent job, and it shows now.
Mayor, I'd just like to add too, there were 70-plus people involved in that effort. That's why we didn't bring them all here today. But Friday, we'll go out there and recognize them at the service center. So if any of you guys want to show up at 7:30, that'd be great. They did a fantastic job. More than 70 people involved. It was a painstaking, what was it, four or 5 month effort. I know that we're going to be able to collect a lot of that money back through FEMA, and we just don't have the totals yet. We may, if we did miss a pile, I appreciate the public's patience. Please call 616-7300 and get on the list. We'll come out and pick it up. Or if you had more brush that you put out, we'll pick it up. But it's been a long, intensive effort, and so I want to thank the public and thank the city employees and the contractor. We had a contractor involved as well.
Most of these employees, that was not their primary job.
You're right. You're right. And when something like that happens, it's a difficult thing. So we have to do sometimes other duties as assigned, or other duties then assigned, I guess. Or Donald, what do we used to say? Other duties, something like that. Yeah, yeah. You could tell us more, but you can do that after the meeting.
Yeah, okay.
Again, job well done. Item 5.2, consider appointments to the Aviation Advisory Board. Joan?
I'll go ahead and take that one,
Gerald?
Mayor.
Okay.
On this one, according to our code, the code states that the city manager will make those appointments and that you guys will approve it. So, based upon that, we had 6 people that applied to be on the aviation board, which included 6 people and 3 incumbents. After consultation with Dan Onesorge, I think it's best to put those incumbents back on there. They are Caleb Easterwood, David Chale, and Roy Camp. And then there were 3 additional applicants, and I believe that Daniel Heath was probably, they were all well qualified, but I think Daniel Heath had the most aviation experience, and that's my recommendation, that you put those 4 people on that board.
Move approval. Second.
Motion by David, second by Ben. Discussion. Please cast your vote. Motion carries 7-0. Item 5.3, consider appointments to the Metropolitan Area Planning Commission, Enid Joint Recreation Triad, Historic Preservation Commission, Park Board, and Tree Board.
Thank you, Mayor.
Joan?
Mayor, Commissioners, as is the practice, the city clerk has advertised for these vacancies for the above boards and commissions, and the following appointments, as I read them, are to be considered. In the Metropolitan Area Planning Commission, there is 1 vacancy to be filled by any resident of the city of Enid for a period of 3 years or more, immediately preceding their appointment. Mr. Jeff Helm is the incumbent to this commission, and he has chosen not to seek reappointment. The applications have been received from Mr. John Aaron and Ms. Whitney Hall. The successful applicant will serve on the said committee until March 1st, 2019. If either of these applicants are here, if you would like to speak to the commission on your behalf of wanting to be a part of this commission, you can do so now at this time. John? All right, just come right up here and state your name and then whatever you'd like for.
And be sure to speak into the mic.
My name is John Aaron. I believe I know most of you. I've met you before, so you know me. I have a degree, an undergrad and master's degree in architecture from the University of Cincinnati. I have 5 years of experience here in Enid working for Corbin and Mers Architects, and I'd just like to offer my experience and knowledge in planning and architecture and serve the city.
Thank you.
My name's Whitney Hall. I've met many of you here before. I have slightly different technical background. I have a bachelor's degree in chemical engineering and a master's degree in engineering and technology management, and I've used that working at Oxbow Calcining for the last 6 years. I've been involved in different aspects of the community, including as president of the Enid Young Professionals, and as I step away from that, I would like to continue to use my abilities to be able to move this city forward. So, thank you.
Thank you.
We have some questions.
Sure, why not?
I'd like to ask both of them. The MAPC, one of the things that they see most frequently is the issue of the sidewalk variances.
Not again.
So I am interested in what both of y'all's opinions are with regards to the sidewalk ordinance in Enid. Just 2 minutes worth, no more, not a 2 minutes. speech, but what do you all think about that? You can say you don't have an answer if you don't have an answer.
Coming from a community, I was in Tulsa. I was blessed to grow up across the street from a park that had 3 miles worth of trail. That was within 5 minutes of me. All the neighborhoods I've ever been in have been ones that were very enclosed, where there's not a lot of high-speed traffic coming through. But anywhere you were close to a school, there was also quite a bit of sidewalk or other safe access for kids to walk. I'm very close to somebody who actually did a doctoral thesis on walkability and how that relates to the health of children. And they found that regardless of your other activity, if you walk to school, that can be one of the biggest factors in the health of the child. Being outside is good for you. So in places where we expect people to want to walk, near schools, where we're trying to promote things such as downtown, that is definitely an advantage. A lot of the community neighborhoods I see here are ones that are very straight-lined streets, where you're coming directly off a main road. Again, the more we can facilitate safety, I think is very important. That being said, when you're looking at somebody who has a small property and they're maybe looking to add a water heater, but they want to move it outside of their garage, trying to weigh the cost of the project versus the cost of the sidewalk, I think is also very important. So I am for sidewalks, but in a controlled and measured approach.
John?
I guess I would start by saying that I think that the trend today is that people want a walkable city. People want to be able to go places without having to get in their car all the time. So I do applaud the city's effort to try to encourage sidewalks. I don't think that there's an easy solution because Enid is a city that has grown in a time when sidewalks weren't really valued much. So there's a large portion of the city that doesn't have sidewalks. Therefore, I think we're in the right direction trying to push for sidewalks, but I think that the recent steps that the city has taken to kind of alter the sidewalk ordinance and take into account, you know, the size of a renovation or an addition, or, you know, is it residential or commercial? I think some of those steps that you've looked at make the sidewalk ordinance a little bit better, but I don't think that I don't think any step that the city takes going forward is going to be easy. So it's just, sidewalks are going to be one of those things that we're just going to have to grit our teeth and bear them and move on forward with them. So it's just, that's my.
Thank you.
Our ballot says to pick two, but we can only pick one, right?
Yes, there is just one.
Please cast your votes.
Mayor, would you like to wait for the results of this, or do you want me to read the next one?
Let's go to the next one.
Enid Joint Recreation Triad, there are 2 vacancies to be filled by an interested citizen of the city of Enid. Ms. Lynn Snow and Mr. Cole Watley are incumbents on the board and both seek reappointment. Applications have also been received from Kevin Beam, Ms. Lauren Davis, and Ms. Marlon or Dusty Giles. These applicants will serve on the board until March 1st, 2019. And those that are here in the audience for that board and would like to address the commission are welcome to do so.
Your name and address, please.
Sure. My name's Lynn Snow, and I'm at 1013 Ramona Drive. I've been on the board now for 3 years, and pretty much didn't really know what I was getting into when I came in for it before, but I really enjoyed myself. My nephew has gone through the program, learned a ton. He's on into high school now, but we still have lots of, kids in my neighborhood, lots of my friends who have kids who are playing out there, and I just want to help in any way that I can out there.
Good evening. My name is Dusty Giles. I live at 500 North 26th Street. I'm new in Enid. I've been here 7 months. I pastor Abundant Life Church at 16th and Chestnut, and I just want to help Enid accomplish the goals that they want to accomplish. And I saw the commissions, and I thought it's time to be involved. So thank you.
My name's Kevin Beam. I'm the Park and Recreation Supervisor for the City of Enid, and I would like to represent the city on this board to have a better working relationship between the city and EJRT for the best interests of the kids.
So clarify for me then, because now I'm confused. The EJRT board is a private board. It's not a city. We're just allowed to put 2 members of the public on there. Clarify the relationship to me.
We place as members come due, they have terms, we place them on there, but we are not required to have anyone sitting on it. They would have, is that correct, Linda? We don't have to have, the city itself does not have a person holding a position. We would have to vote them in to be on there. That's correct.
Actually, the board, EJRT board is made up of 9 members. 3 of them are appointed by the city, 3 of them are appointed by the school board, and 3 of them are corporate members that are appointed by other board members, is the way it's set up.
Okay, that's the answer I was looking, because the Parks and Recs board is a division of the city. EJRT is not. It's completely.
It's well,
It's a three-legged
They've
stool.
always appointed members, yes.
It's a three-legged stool between the city and the school system and the board itself. Would
Yes.
you say that?
Yes.
The triad.
Well, we love Kevin. He's doing a great job. I'm wondering if there's not a bit of inherent conflict of interest with this, because the city and the EGRT is often working on projects jointly. Is it okay for our P&R director to be a member of that board? Ron, you've been on the board. Is that a good idea?
I'm probably the oldest, longest serving member on the EGRT board, and I actually think Kevin would be a nice addition, because EGRT, most of their activities take place on city fields. And in other words, we use Crossland Park for the baseball program, we use South Government Springs for the EGRT football program, and in the past, they've also been involved in running the summer recreation program, which involves the swimming pool, the tennis courts, and those types of things. So the fact that we use so much of the city's park assets, to me, I think he'd be an excellent addition to the board.
Since you've been on the board, I'll certainly yield to your judgment.
Anything else?
There are 2 vacancies, so you vote for 2.
Well, she tabulates them. The Metropolitan Area Planning Commission,
Historic.
Nope.
Oh, yeah, you're reading off the results. Okay.
I'm going back.
Yeah, sorry, you got the results.
The results, Whitney Hall has 5 votes, John Aaron has 2 votes. Whitney Hall will be the new representative. Now, those voting for John Aaron were Rodney Tim and Mayor Shuey. Voting for Whitney Hall, Ron Jansen, Aaron Bradley, Benny Zell, Tammy Wilson, David Van Hooser. When I go to the park board, I'm sorry.
Next we have the Historic Preservation Commission. You don't have a ballot for that, so
Right.
don't look.
Do we need to vote for it?
Yes, you will need to vote. There's one vacancy to be filled by a historian. The incumbent for this position was removed from the commission due to excessive absences. We have received 1 application from Mr. Ronald Schweitzer, and is attached for your consideration. If approved, Mr. Schweitzer will serve on said commission until March 1st, 2019.
We have Ron, is it Switzer or Schweitzer? Signed up. Just need your name and address, please.
My name is Ronald Schweitzer. I live at 505 West Carrier Road. I'm pleased to be here tonight and to try to express my appreciation for an opportunity to work with the city on the Historic Preservation Commission. My background is in anthropology and history. I served 40 years in executive and superintendent positions in the U.S. National Park Service before coming to Enid. During my time with the National Park Service, I administered the National Historic Preservation Program and the Historic Sites Preservation Program for the National Park Service in 9 states, including Oklahoma. So I've got a little experience with the job. I'd like to tell you that I'm very, very interested in the historic districts that we have in Enid, and I think the story of those districts is yet to be completely told. And I really appreciate the opportunity to appear before you, and hope you appreciate my offer to serve on the commission. Thank you.
Thank you.
I'll move the appointment of Mr. Ronald Schweitzer to the board.
Second.
Motion by David, second by Tammy. Please cast your vote. Motion carries 7-0. The two persons that will be on the Enid Joint Recreation Triad Commission are Kevin Boehm and Lynn Snow. Kevin received 7 votes. Lynn Snow received 5 votes. Those voting for Kevin: Ron Jensen, Aaron Brownlee, Benny Zell, Rodney Tim, Tammy Wilson, David Van Hooser, and Bill Shuey. Those voting for Lynn Swan, 5 votes.
No.
Ron Jensen, Aaron Brownlee, Benny Zell, Rodney Tim, Tammy Wilson. Those voting for Dusty Giles, David Van Hooser. I'm sorry. Somebody didn't vote. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. The vote was, Kevin had 7 votes, Lynn Snow had 5. They are the 2 representatives. Whoops, here's one. That was me.
You're the one missing.
Not now, I voted for Cole. Didn't balance. Now,
See?
yes, ma'am.
The Park Board. There are 2 vacancies to be filled by an interested citizen of the city of Enid. Ms. Carmen Ball and Mr. Mark Kiefer are incumbents to the board, and they both seek reappointment. Applications have also been received from Ms. Gail Box, Mr. Jerry Galbraith, Mr. Donald John, and Ms. Tricia Mitchell. Successful applicant will serve on the boards through March 1st, 2019. There are 2 applicants, and we've got 6 available positions. So anyone in the audience that is signed up for this and would like to speak to the commission, you can do so now.
My name is Gail Box, and I would love to serve on the park board because I have lived in Enid for over 30 years, and I have seen so many wonderful things happen in Enid to our parks and recreation in the last 10 years. It just is so exciting. We cannot stress the impact that our parks and recreation have on the quality of life of our community. Provides physical as well as emotional well-being to our community. I love to go out and walk on the trails with my dogs and see families enjoying them. I love to drive by a park and see families enjoying them. A happy community is a healthy community, and I would love to be able to give my insights to this board and hopefully do my civic duty now that I am retired from guidance counseling. Thank you.
Thank you.
Good evening. I'm Carmen Ball. I live at 1718 East Maple, and I'm one of the incumbents on the park board. I would love to serve another term on the park board. We've had some upheaval in the last couple of years, and I'd really like to see some of the plans that we've talked about come to fruition. Originally, I started with Government Springs because that's where I really loved going and walking around it, having lunch there. And of course, Shakespeare in the Park, since I'm involved with Gaslight. That was probably my main focus originally. And then I realized I play tennis pretty consistently. So that brings in South Government Springs and Crossland. One reason I like serving on the park board is there are not a lot of voices on the park board from the East Side residents. And I've lived from the East Side. And the closest parks for us are Government Springs and North and South. So I think it's important to have that impact. And I second what Gail said, that quality of life is an incredible thing, and to keep healthy, happy, to draw businesses in with the trails. And, okay, you know, I don't walk the trails, my husband does, but, okay, exercise is not my deal, but I love walking my dogs. So that's essential for me too. So thank you for your consideration.
Thank you.
Donald John, live at 3666 Antelope Drive. I spent 30 years with the City of Enid in Parks and Recreation. I know every park in there, what's in there and everything, and now that I'm retired, I'd just like the opportunity to keep serving. I've got a lot of blood and sweat in those parks. A lot of things I've built. Mr. Jansen got me coaching football back when I first started with the City of Enid. He was still AGRT, and I just like to, y'all consider me to be on the park board. I know a lot about it. I appreciate it. Thank you.
Oh, for two. I will say, this attests to a lot of what this commission has done with Park and Recreation over the years, to have 6 people applying to be on this board, because it is important, and people have, the residents have seen what a difference it's made and want to be a part of it.
How many members are there on the park board?
Okay.
Is that enough?
It was reduced a few years back. It had been up to, I think it's 10. But
Ben, you're on it. Is that enough?
We actually have pretty good attendance. We frequently run out of chairs. I think it's more voices are always welcome, but we have to find a bigger room. It's a very good board. We've been really fortunate. We have interesting meetings, certainly, but it's a good board.
We could certainly find a bigger room. If you guys wish to add more to that board, we could consider that.
What do you think, Ben? 7 enough? That's a tiebreaker. It's not.
I think it would be it's useful to have that odd number. I certainly would not complain about adding 2 more seats. The park board is one of those boards I really enjoyed sitting on, in part because everybody around that table has a different perspective. We have folks who have who are there and passionate about it because of their kids' involvement in sports. We have folks who care more about the trails or one park or another. I think we benefit from having more voices on that board. But we can't do that tonight, certainly.
It's not on the agenda. Go to the tree board.
the tree board, it has 3 vacancies to be filled by an interested citizen of the city of Enid, 2 of which will serve till March 1st, 2019, and 1 to fill an unexpired term to March 1st, 2017. Mr. William Noakes and Ms. Judy Watson are incumbents to the board. The unexpired term is due to excessive absence by a former member of the board. Mr. Noakes seeks reappointment. Ms. Watson is term limited. Applications have been received from Mr. Kevin Beam, Mr. Jerry Galbraith, and Ms. Rachel Labita. Ballot, of course, your ballot and applications are there. There are 3 vacancies.
It says 2 here.
I have 3. Linda, can you confirm 3? 3 vacancies.
Okay. What is the size of that board?
That is a small board.
It is a small board. It's only 5.
I think it's 5.
It's 5. Would you tell us what exactly the tree board is about and what it does? I mean, I've been here 3 years and I've never seen a recommendation or any kind of action from the tree board, and apparently it's not well attended from the reason we're here tonight.
Those that have attended are very passionate. I will say that Ms. Watson has done just a tremendous job. How it was formed was there was some donations given for trees here a few years back in a rather large, well, about a $10,000 to $20,000 amount. And they started looking at areas where those could be placed. I believe those were all on east of town, around where the Jumbo's is, and in that area in that. Anyway, they formed this board to ensure that not only were we were placing the right kind of trees that would be healthy in this area, and that they would also be there to give information to our staff when we were planning and so forth. They do tree giveaways once a year. They work with CDBG, or not with CDBG, but with Stephanie to get those trees in, and they have helped us become a tree city. They've done a lot of things. There's not a lot to do, but they do. I believe they still have funding that they have in an account.
They have money they've raised from those tree sales. Just to follow up on what Joan said, Arbor Day is an
they
annual
put on Arbor
celebration
Day.
they're involved in. In fact, isn't that coming up, Stephanie? Okay. And Mayor, you've come to those before, haven't you?
I have planted trees every year, yes. You get a nice green T-shirt to go with it.
It has been difficult to keep members on this board because you do have to have a passion for trees. But typically, this last few years, that it's been a very, very strong 2 or 3, and I almost hate that Ms. Watson is term limited because she was so very dedicated to it. But
Yeah, one of the things we can do too, commissioners, and Stephanie, if you'll do this for me, let's get they help produce a tree guide. So can we get a tree guide, put it in all their boxes so that they can see that's a product of the tree board's work?
I have one request. Do it in a month other than July or August. We are to vote for 2?
3.
Speak.
Pardon me?
Anybody want to speak on this one?
Oh, I'm sorry. I did not ask if anyone was here to speak on it.
Good evening. My name is Rachel Lebeda. I am new to the city of Enid. I just recently moved here from Tulsa. I love your city. It is so beautiful. I would like to go ahead and state that, being from Tulsa, it's green country, and that's one of the things that I think that I noticed is, yes, there's a lot of trees here, but I would like to see a lot more. I have a Master's of Arts in Project Management, and if appointed to this tree board, I would like to utilize my skills and educational opportunities through that degree to take on this project of preserving and adding more trees to the beautiful city of Enid. Thank you.
Thank you.
Dr. Van Hooser, I will say that one of the things that they had done during the last couple of years was actually have an inventory done of all the trees that we have on city properties. We actually have that now so that we know what kinds of trees we have and if there's outbreak of some kind that harm them or whatever. But it's a very interesting board. It's one I've sat in on it a few times and was always amazed at what I learned every time I did. So
Second Tuesday at noon, if you ever want to stop by.
Not a clue. The funding then's all private?
The funding has been all private. There have been a few years in the past where there has been some funding through the park board. Not through the park board, I'm sorry, through the park department. Because sometimes they recognize things that need to be done and it's conveyed to the park department. And so we have budgeted some funding in the park department for tree maintenance.
I think that primarily relates to tree maintenance along the medians on 412 and Van Buren.
Which is the city's responsibility, which we do fund.
It is the city's responsibility. We do fund it, but you could say we fund it through the tree board if you want to, or however you.
Don't fund it through the tree board.
Right, it's funded through the city. You're correct. The tree board weighs in on it.
Water in that property.
Anything else? We need to vote for 3.
3.
The Park Board representatives will be Carmen Ball and Donald John. Voting for Carmen Ball, Ron Jansen, Benny Zell, Tammy Wilson, Mayor Shuey. Voting for Donald John, Ron Jansen, Aaron Brownlee, Benny Zell, Rodney Tim, and David Van Hooser. Voting for Gail Box, Aaron Brownlee, Mayor Shuey. Voting for Mark Kiefer, Rodney Tim, Tammy Wilson, David Van Hooser. The representatives again are Carmen Ball and Donald John. Soon as we have the last tally, we will move on, but thank you to those who requested to be on the different commissions. We will have more in the future. Don't give up.
Yeah, Mayor, I just follow up. We will keep the applications. We obviously had more great applicants than we had positions, so we will keep all those applications. Next time there's openings, we will contact you to see if you're interested and come back in this process. So please, thank you for your willingness to serve. Item and then Andrea, if the mayor wanted to move on to the next item, could he do that and then we come back and announce the okay.
Item 6, hearings. Item 6.1, conduct a public hearing regarding the fiscal year 2016 annual action plan and to consider $387,471 of proposed allocations as recommended by the mayor and commissions. Stephanie?
Mayor, Commissioners, this is the series of public hearings that we have annually. This is the second one. We had the last one at the last meeting. We do not have to approve a resolution for the projects until April the 5th. We'll do that. The Section 108 loan this year is $158,348. Administration and planning costs are $70,000, which leaves $159,123 for projects that you approve. The first public hearing was March 3rd. Today is the second public hearing. The final approval of the plan is April 5th, and I will submit that plan with your approval on May 15th. And that could be with 1 or 2 projects of your choice.
What was last year's allocation?
$399. It's $10,000 less this year.
Do we need a motion?
Signed up, it's just a hearing, Mayor.
Signed up.
When do we have to decide on where we're gonna allocate that money?
April 5th, we're coming back, right?
When we're gonna have a discussion on it, that's what I was wondering.
Normally, it's been in the budget process.
Yes, during the budget process, we could also discuss that this evening as well.
Had we decided to keep it in-house, or had we decided? We had that discussion yet?
We haven't had a discussion about it.
Likely we'll have it on the study session. This is a new process that we're starting because we eliminated the funding committee. We will bring the projects that we're looking at are in Government Springs Park or improvement of that park. And that's really what we're looking at. Is there anything else?
The only other option would be housing and homeless prevention. That would be the up to $50,000, so it'd be
Up to 50%.
Yeah, remember,
or up to 50%.
you guys took action to set a new process, and then it was up to 50% for homeless, home repair stuff, and then at least 50% or whatever you guys want to do on infrastructure.
That's why I was wondering, because we spent a lot of hours on this at the committee, and we haven't discussed it at all here. People don't realize how much bickering and argument's gonna take to do this.
Oh, I think we do.
I think April 5th, we'll get a healthy dose of that. We will bring
I don't know
back.
if you can do it all in one night, that's what.
No, if we need to do it more, I think, can you show that timeline? Can you bring the timeline back up again, Dana? I think we have time if needed at a second meeting, or we could call a special meeting if you would like to do that too.
See a list of
Yeah, well,
projects, and then we decide on, or we come up with a list or whatever, but we need to have a list to talk about. Right now, we don't really have that.
before April 5th.
What we can do is, we will come up with a list of projects, which again, right now is focused on Government Springs. If you guys have ideas or want to do something else, we certainly would entertain other ideas, but we'll send you what we have now before the meeting to generate ideas and discussion and setting this up for a meeting on the 5th.
Fair enough.
I think with the smaller pot of money that we have, it'll be simplified from years past to decide on where the rest of it goes.
And since this is a hearing, we could talk about it some more tonight if you want to, if you have some ideas. Since we talked about city infrastructure a lot, we're trying to focus on Government Springs because we know there's some things there we want to get done, but there's some other parks that might qualify under CDBG, right?
Yes.
The Government Springs issue is also revolves around the BMX track, correct? So, I mean, that's a perfect utilization of funds. It eliminates all the bitching and moaning and gets us where we need to go. We can spend the whole amount on that, can we not?
Yeah,
You're talking about Government
Use
Springs
some
Park
housing.
South.
Yes, sir.
Okay.
We can use up to 50% on housing, but we can use the whole thing for infrastructure is the way I understand it. Should we
Yes.
choose to.
That's the way that that's the way that the process was set up.
It worked this year.
Any certain housing?
If you decide that you want to put a certain amount in the housing allocation, I will notify all the entities that have those programs and have them list out their needs. Like, for instance, CDSA with their emergency repair program that they do. Salvation Army could have a small program, but I would like to know exactly how much they could compete for, because I don't want to say compete for this amount and
Don't those occur throughout the year? You don't have a list of those today, for instance?
no, I haven't opened it up to them at all this year yet.
Do we have an idea how much the project at Government Springs?
We do not have an idea yet. We know that if we allocated everything after the HUD loan and administration costs, I think we showed, we had a slide, I don't know if it's on here tonight. Yes.
159,123 is.
Less than 80,000.
Well, compete is exactly the word for why we changed the process, because this year, for the first time, we're not going to have hard feelings over this whole issue unless we get into that battle. And I strongly encourage us as a commission not to go back. We made this decision last year to eliminate that competitive process between all those organizations. Not that any of them are not valuable, but to get away from the hard feelings about this. I think we need to stick to that.
We did do that, but we also had the discussion that we weren't going to completely do away with putting some of it towards housing and homeless stuff. That was we had that conversation too, and that's why we decided that we could do some of it this way and some of it the other way. So it wasn't a cut and dried, we're giving it all to the city every single time.
And it's also a false assumption to say that not putting it out there is going to avoid hurt feelings. I mean, not putting it out there, we're still going to have a lot of people upset that we're removing a funding stream for some pretty valuable, now not to say we shouldn't do it anyway, but simply saying we're keeping it all doesn't avoid anybody being upset.
I know that we have notified, some time ago, we notified all the agencies that have received these funds in the past and explained to them the new process. I personally haven't heard any feedback from that. I don't know, have you heard any feedback or?
Just your normal fears of what they're going to do to keep the programs going, but they all understood that we don't have the same $700,000 pot we did 2 years ago.
I fully expected to see if there was going to be complaints. That's why we've had 2 public hearings already, and as we sit here tonight, we have yet to have anyone come and comment on this particular issue. So I think we're doing the right thing. We just carry on.
Well, this will definitely be on the study session for April 5th, and we will send you a list of proposed projects before that, and then we can discuss.
There's going to be a long list of stuff on there, just like it's always been, then we need to start that at about noon.
Doesn't necessarily mean they're from the community, it could be stuff, city projects.
Bring it to us on April 5th and we'll do our job.
Projects the city wants to do before I decide to go and spring someone it's not going to. I mean, there's lots of things the city could do with it.
It will be restricted to 2 categories. City projects that qualify in the area, or housing and homeless that have, I mean, we know CDSA covers that pretty significantly, and the one that we covered last year for
Salvation Army.
Salvation Army, and that's not even been a yearly thing. They had a building project last year. I don't know that they have a program this year or not, but I mean, it has to be in one of those 2 categories. It won't be outside.
Part of the process, as I understood our discussion, was that we would determine projects that we thought were valuable projects, and if that fell into the homeless housing arena, that we would decide what it is this commission thought was a good project instead of the other way around, and then we would contract with one of those agencies who has the innate and appropriate ability to carry out our wishes, rather than this competition, bidding, hard-feeling, hurt way we've been doing it in the past. And that would still allow us to fund some of those if we decide that that's the project we want to do. But it needs to come from our side of the table.
Right, that's what I'm saying, that's what my comment was, we need to come up with the projects that we want to consider. I mean, we haven't even talked about it really, or said anything about it. And I mean, I know there's a million projects for the city, and I'd like to be able to look at a list of things, or us get together and put together a list of things, rather than just deciding that one thing is a good, I mean, that one thing is a completely valid project, absolutely. But I mean, I just want a choice, rather than just say, this is the one project for 100 else. I mean, I would like to have some options to look at.
Well, let's talk about it at study session.
We will give you some options, and it sounds like April 5th, and if you would like, we could have a special meeting probably to talk about that as well, too. Maybe we gauge from on the 5th how it goes.
Let's just
It's a great idea, though.
let's do it. And I mean, we may not come up with any other ideas. I mean, I'm sure that there are more than one project that we could spend that.
City staff will brainstorm. I know we've been focused on Government Springs, but there are some other projects. We'll brainstorm a list of those and send those to you as soon as we can, but well before this April 5th meeting.
Thank you.
Thank you.
The representatives for the tree board will be Kevin Boehm, Rachel Lebeda, and William Noakes. Those voting for Kevin Boehm were Aaron Brownlee, Benny Zell, David Van Hooser, and Bill Shuey. Those voting for Rachel Lebeda, Ron Jansen, Aaron Brownlee, Benny Zell, Rodney Tim, Tammy Wilson, David Van Hooser, and Bill Shuey. Those voting for William Noakes and Rachel Lebeda each received 7 votes, Kevin Boehm 4. Voting for William Noakes, Ron Jansen, Aaron Brownlee, Benny Zell, Rodney Tim, Tammy Wilson, David Van Hooser, and Bill Shuey. Those voting for Jerry Galbraith, Ron Jansen, Rodney Tim, Tammy Wilson.
So who are the 3 that were Kevin?
3?
Rachel, and Mr. Noakes?
7, 14, and 7 is 21 votes. 4 and 14 is 18, and 3 is 21 votes. Which is 7 times 3. Again, thank you. Item 7.1, under community development. Item 7.1, consider installing 4 yellow caution flashing lights on Willow Road at Autry Technology Center.
Move approval.
We have one person signed up to discuss. Before we vote,
I'll second the motion.
a motion by David, a second by Ron. John Aaron signed up to speak on that item. Need your name and address, John, please.
My name is John Aaron, 2009 Lantern Lane. I've written most of you on my support for this project. I think that this is a small step towards safety on Willow. Actually, the entire strip between Cleveland and Van Buren, in my opinion, as somebody who drives it every day, isn't really a safe area. I don't really mind the 40-mile-per-hour speed limit, but the design of the road, along with the number of inlets and outlets from different buildings and parking lots on it, isn't really conducive to traffic entering and exiting the road. The free-for-all turn lane in the middle is really the part that's the most dangerous to me. I can't tell you how many times I've been driving and turning into the turn lane to cross oncoming traffic whenever it's free, and had somebody oncoming also getting into the turn lane and having a near miss situation. I don't have the traffic stats in front of me. I don't know how many collisions happen on the road, so I couldn't tell you, but I would be shocked if we don't have a high number of accidents on that road. But I would suggest that this is a responsible start, but a long-term plan to make this road safer would be to strategically put medians in that turn lane so that people can only turn at specific locations, and those medians would also give an area of refuge if somebody were wanting to cross the road, like here in front of Autry, where somebody was hit last year and seriously hurt. I just feel like, I know that roads are a very expensive project. I know it's not something that we're going to be able to fix overnight, but I think directing the city staff to come up with a responsible long-term plan for this stretch of road would be the right thing to do as a city.
Thank you very much. We have a motion by David, a second by, who is the second? Ron.
Yep.
Further discussion. Rodney?
What was the reasoning, I guess, for the flashing lights? Is that just to show there's incoming traffic?
Well, I'll tell you, the genesis of this thing has gone through a lot of iterations to try and get to this solution today. It started out, I think, quite frankly, it was, triggered by that pedestrian student at Autry Tech that was hit by the vehicle. Brady McCullough, who was unable to be here tonight, who's very supportive of this, had come and talked to me about the need, a couple things. One, pedestrian issues with his students crossing the road. But what turned out to be even more of a concern to him was the speed of traffic up and down that road, making it difficult to get in and out of Autry Tech. So we started out visiting about this some more and talking with city staff, working on this problem. And I believe, Chris, we went through several iterations. I think we started out with several options. We ended up talking about it in a study session, I believe, first meeting in February, and I think at that point we were talking about speed limit reductions. Subsequently, it went to MAPC. It did go with a speed zone recommendation, or that was what was taken, and they approved that, I think, by a 5-2 vote. Subsequent to that, I know that there were many concerns. We wanted to try and find a way to increase safety here, yet not impede the flow of traffic any more than we needed to, because I know there were concerns about the speed limit. And we did 2 traffic studies, one in December, and then the one which you can see, which shows average speeds of 50-some miles an hour. The latest one that was done at the end of February showed that in a week's time, there's about 60,000 vehicles that go each way. There's a migration from west to east in the morning between the 7:30 and 8 time frame, and then it goes going back home around the 5 o'clock time frame. So anyway, visiting with this issue and some of you, and then talking to the chief and staff, Chief had a great idea to go out there and talk about a first step of maybe looking at warning flashers. And so we went out and talked to Brady about this. And one of the things that Brady had noted is when we did the second speed study and put that sign out that shows how fast people are going, the average speed on that, lo and behold, was only 36 miles an hour. So we believe that that was probably, and Brady confirmed this, that he recognized people were slowing down because there was something out there that told them how fast they were going. So we brainstormed some solutions and thought maybe instead of jumping to a speed zone that might cause some other issues, we might start with some flashing warnings that would get people's attention and some enhanced enforcement in that area to really try that before we took the more drastic step of asking you to lower the speed limit. So that's kind of how we ended up with flashing lights.
Okay, you get all through that. What are you gonna do when McDonald's and Brahms and Evans and all them call us and say we want traffic slowed down, getting in and out of their places?
Well, we'll have to determine if that's valid and we want to extend this warning sign, or at some point we might determine that we might want to slow down the traffic, or we might not. I mean, that's a decision we'll probably have to make at that time.
Are we gonna keep the flashing speed signs up there?
Well, there's no flashing signs there currently. This proposal would have us put up 4 flashing signs that say something like "Proceed with caution." I think you might have a picture.
I do. That would be the signage right there.
That in conjunction with some enforcement. And Chief, feel free to chime in. You helped greatly with this solution.
The thought process here is, instead of lowering the speed limit in a certain section of Willow, when it's normally 40, and lowering it down at different times, it could congest traffic. It could do more harm than good.
I agree.
And to do that right off the bat, it's much easier to get tighter on it than it is to step back. So anytime somebody sees a yellow flashing light, whether it be on the trail crossings or anywhere, they know something's going on. And we got a really good response with our speed cameras and speed signs. We got a very high compliance rate. So yellow lights instantly are going to make you think something's going on, and they'll mind their speed. So I'd like to try this first, and then if necessary, our higher accidents are not at Votech. They're on down by McDonald's and the oil change place and Brahms. Those are where those accidents are happening. And try this first, and then at some point in time, maybe you all have to look at the entire length of Willow. So it's a first step instead of going too drastic and then stepping back.
Something else I would note that I think is in the background, the cost on this to try this solution is relatively small. It's $12,000 for 4 flashers, and Brady has agreed to pay half of that. So our effective cost to the city to do this and hopefully have an impact on safety and without causing traffic jams is going to be about $6,000.
This is on a time schedule? Like
Yes, there's 4 times that it would go. It's early in the morning, I think 7:45 or something, and then
much like a school.
Mid-morning, and then noon, and then about 3 o'clock. So really, the primary traffic time that's going to be impacted is the 7:30 to 8 group that's migrating to work, probably going east, because these flashers won't be activating when people are coming home at 5.
Further discussion? Please cast your vote. Motion carries 6-0. Ben had to leave. Under item 8, administration, item 8.1, consider a resolution amending the 2015-2016 Enid Event Center and Convention Hall fund budget by appropriating additional funds in the amount of $750,000 to increase the 2015-2016 appropriated amounts for the Enid Event Center and the Convention Hall Department.
Move approval.
Second.
Motion by David, second by
Tammy.
Tammy.
Whichever.
Further discussion? Rodney?
I've visited with Gerald a couple, 3 times. I just can't maybe seem to get my head wrapped around this, but I have questions like, are we setting the new budget already for this for next year?
No, what this is doing is taking the current year budget. Aaron has analyzed it, Chance, who's in the audience from ECCH, and with the time that we have left and the decrease in the revenues, we're projecting that fund, we're gonna spend $750,000. We're gonna need to raise the budget by $750,000. Now, the biggest part of that reason is because there's been additional events and there's additional events planned that will cost more money. So out of that $750,000 increase in the budget, $550,000 of that, right? Well, I'm explaining all this. You want to jump in there? $550,000 is from the fund, and
Well, I understand the numbers, but I just think like we're setting a precedent. What happens next year for $400,000 short? I don't want to get in a habit of throwing money out, because, yeah, we have money this year in that account. What if we had to use that money? We didn't, I don't like this supporting it.
But isn't this, the extra money comes from some of the event that they project they're going to have more actually coming in?
But not the 200,000.
So we have to spend, it's one of those spend money to make money kind of deals? I mean, I understand we're still a little bit of a shortfall, but it's not as big of a shortfall as it appears to be.
yes, this is the first time we've had to do this, right, Aaron?
Right.
Because, and the reason is the hotel tax.
Right, the hotel tax is really what's driving this, and there's, the only other source of revenue in this fund is the event center. So for each dollar that they spend to bring in more events, they have higher expenses too. And so that break-even point is, we're just not there yet with the event center.
I don't want people to think that I'm against the event center. I think I think we shouldn't have to back it up when something fails or comes short.
Well, I'll go ahead and say a few things that I know Keller would want to say if he was here. He's out working on drumming up some more business for the center. One of the exciting things that he's looking at for the next year, don't know if this is going to happen, but they're looking to try and market some naming rights for the facility that we've talked about before. We're hopeful that that might come in. That could generate about an extra $100,000. And they're continuing to obviously look at events. We have not done our projections yet, or at least I haven't seen them for hotel tax. We probably have done them, but right now there's no indication that I can see that hotel tax is going to be any higher yet. So I don't know what it's going to look like in next year's budget, but I know for this year we think this is the best way to cover this shortfall in that fund from the hotel tax.
When I sat down and tried to add this up the day before yesterday, the $325,000 is the deficit in the hotel tax for this year. Had we stuck to the same budget and revenue had been neutral and that $325,000 would have come in, the event center would have actually turned a profit this year for the first time ever of about $125,000. So this is really not their fault. It's kind of where we set the budget. They're actually doing better than ever. And for the first time, I was really hoping we were going to get to say that they didn't just break even, they actually made some money. So I think it's kind of a funny numbers game, Rodney. I hear where you're coming from, but I don't really think we're dumping more money into the event center. We're actually just covering the $325,000 that just like the rest of our budget, we may end up cutting something. We just lost out on the hotel tax because the revenue's down considerably.
There's also some sales tax that figures into this that we have no idea what that is. Basically food and gasoline. For the 40% of the people that are coming from outside of Garfield County.
And that revenue doesn't get captured in
this
this fund, so you're right, there's indirect revenues coming.
Part of the mix. I think David's point is well taken. It was about a $450,000 negative position last year.
And Tim, I just want to point out too, that every dollar revenue that they raise will be allocated first before this transfer. So if at the end of the year, that projection's a little off and they only need 170, I'm only transferring them 170. I mean, I don't want to give them any more money than we need to from the municipal authority, so.
Will it come back once there's an extra profit?
If there's extra profit, I just will transfer less. This is just giving me the authority to do up to $200,000 if we need it. If we don't, that transfer won't occur.
Taylor's out tonight getting a great big act and is going to make $170,000 extra. We're going to get that back then.
Well, it won't ever be transferred to them until June if we need it. So for right now, we're just preparing for where we need to be at the end of the year.
Okay, thanks.
Anything else? Aaron, you have something? Okay. Please cast your vote. Motion carries 6-0. Item 8.2, transfer the southern portion of the Rolling Oaks Detention Facility to AC Developments LLC, Enid, Oklahoma, and retain a permanent easement for the primary purpose of stormwater drainage, project number F-1307A. Robert?
Thank you, Mayor, Commissioners, City Manager. This is the item of transferring the surface rights for an area that was included in the plan unit development for Stonebridge. We have a map here I'm going to show you. The north side of this drawing is Rolling Oaks Drive. Cleveland is shown to the right, and the area outlined in red is the area proposed for transferring the surface rights of that detention facility. Now, I included a copy of the original draft of the plan unit development indicating this planning area 3 and this track 2 that the area would be owned and maintained by the homeowners association. That was always the intent from the original development of the plat. However, in the original development of the plat, and this is not the final, I'll get to that in a minute, this is the original draft. That track 2 is shown here at the detention facility for the site. And the area to the north was planned or was shown to be developed with residential and other uses. Actually, in that process, we were able to negotiate with AC Development, and the final PUD was drawn up as shown here. Again, Rolling Oaks would be to the north, and Cleveland, or top and Cleveland on the right side. But the track 2, as you can see, changed to a larger area. The north area of the track 2 is the Rolling Oaks Detention Facility. It was, we traded property, acquired that for the detention facility. We also at the same time acquired this property, and that was developed as the on-site or the detention for the Stonebridge development. And the purpose of this action is to transfer the title of the property in the south portion, and I'll go back to that here, as shown here, to AC Development per their original PUD agreement. And I'm sorry, this last slide, it wasn't in your presentation that was sent out, but that is the final PUD development slide.
We do have 2 individuals signed up to speak on this.
Thank you.
Anything else, Robert?
I believe that covers it. Glad to answer any questions.
Thank you. The first person signed up to speak is Larry Howard. Your name and address, please.
Larry Howard, 616 North Cleveland. What I am concerned about is whenever we decided that you guys would do the Stonebridge Estates, everybody got up there and thought it was a great idea, but that was all low-lying area. They come in, they did dirt work, they did the detention ponds. At the end of May, when all the rains came, the engineers was wrong because my house ended up flooded. I was not able to collect flood insurance because I'm not in a floodplain, at least not till you guys voted it and made this disaster. I was not able to file with FEMA because that was the only place, according to Mike Coningsberg, in the city of Enid, that the house flooded. And according to Mary Fallon, since that's the only place, the state couldn't help. So some of my pictures and a lot of my personal property was damaged. And I'm all for economic development, but the roads there has created more traffic and will create more traffic. And I was told by city staff when this plan first started, it would be 2019 before you guys fix the road from the north side of the railroad track to Willow, And then 2025, somewhere in that time, you will go from the south side of the railroad track to Willow, or I'm sorry, to Chestnut. That is going to leave a 2-lane road that is going to be a bottleneck for this project. And from my understanding is maybe by 2035, they'll get around to fixing that. And my concern is, after this damage, why should I fix my house? Because who's to say that this developer won't decide, hey, we could alter this ditch and I could get everything damaged again. I still am unable to buy flood insurance. I'm out all the damage to my residence, all the damage to my personal property, and I cannot tell you how it feels to be standing in your house with water rising up there, and you're trying to figure out what you can set on kitchen cabinets or on the table and how high the water's going to go, and just watch it all go down the drain. And this happened at the end of May, and I still have a lot of anger and a lot of heartache over this deal. And to this day, if one of the TV reporters say, hey, we're looking at heavy rain in Enid, Oklahoma, my wife will freak out and she will not be able to sleep. And she doesn't want to live there anymore. I mean, I've lived on that ground since I was 2 months old. I know what the water has done. I have talked to Eric Benson when he was the city manager, brought him out there, showed him what it did, and when it was all said and done and everything was flooded, and I called Joan Riley, she told me, says, well, there's places flooding in Oklahoma City, so you're not alone. But I did not see in the city of Enid any houses that was underwater, with the exception of mine. And where that Stonebridge Estates is, if you would have went out there, they added 4 to 5 feet of dirt that was there. And where they got that water drained is in a ditch that runs behind my property and runs down through a flume that was put in 50-some years ago. To my knowledge, the city has never maintained it, has never went down that ditch to see what if part of it's collapsed. I've heard they went through the ends of it, but no one has went through the whole ditch or the whole pipe. And since they put that pipe in, they have added more developments around there, and they keep adding more ditches to that thing than what was originally there. And each commission says, hey, economic development takes precedence. Economic development, we need to get the money in so we can redo the infrastructure. But I'm standing here before you and say all my stuff was damaged because you guys wanted that development there. Yes, if I live long enough, I may see that come true. But I will point out one fact is whenever they 4-lane Cleveland from Owen K. Garriott to Elm, that was in the late 70s. The goal was that by the time in the next 10 years, they would have that 4-lane clear to Willow. Here we are, 40-some years. City still hasn't developed on that promise. They have voted money before it. And I feel like that if economic development, we got to have it. I understand that. But if we keep pushing back, somebody has to pay the price. And if the city is going to approve that, then the city needs to be held responsible. And my only recourse at this time, standing before you, is to file suit against the city through a tort claim. I love the city. I spent the better part of 26 years working for the citizens of the city of Enid. And I feel like the city let me down. And I just ask you guys to take that into consideration. There needs to be someone that stands up and says, hey, all right, if we need all this infrastructure done and we need all these things to make that project fly, then either those projects need to go along with the building of that thing instead of waiting until after the fact, and then we're scratching our head going, eh. And the biggest joke that I have of all my friends is they tell me, says, you always wanted to own oceanfront property. And I can safely stand before you. I've lived in Enid, Oklahoma 61 years. I've been here. I was born here. I was raised here. And I am in the process of selling my house and moving out of state because I'm ashamed of what the city has done to me and my family, because I have lost heirlooms and family pictures that I can't replace. But that developer at the Stonebridge Estates, he made money off that deal, and I lost. Thank you.
Thank you. The next person signed up is Gene Anderson. Robert? Gene?
Good evening,
Need your
members of the
name and
council.
address.
Pardon me, Gene Anderson. I just signed up in case you all wanted to ask any questions of me, and I think Gerald's going to present the matter, and if you all would like to ask me questions about it, I'd be happy to try to answer them.
Yeah, I just want to clarify what we're doing here today. And Mr. Howard, I'd like to visit with you. I haven't had the opportunity. I know you've been in to talk to Joan and you've been in to talk to Chris, and I was gone when we had those torrential rains back in May. I will tell you that the action that's on the agenda tonight has nothing to do with the capacity or the functioning of this facility. I believe it's fully functioning now, with the exception of the road's not complete. What is on here tonight is just to finish up what was started in the beginning, which was to transfer those improvements and that detention to AC Developments, who I presume is going to transfer it to a homeowner association at some point, and have the apartments, the homeowners, and the Walmart maintain and make improvements there. What the city retains, regardless of whether this transfer happens or not, is the stormwater structures that function through there and the responsibility to maintain them and maintain all that infrastructure. So that's what this item does tonight. I think Robert explained it pretty well. This was a complex project that's gone through a whole lot of iterations. It's getting close to being complete. We know that the contractor is still working on the north section to complete the road, and they've got a responsibility to seed that area and work on that sod. It's got to be green. And then the southern area was always intended to be the responsibility of the developer and ultimately the homeowners association, as you saw from that document that Robert Hitt showed. So with that, is there any questions that I can answer, or Gene could answer?
Any questions?
Why exactly would we want to give that up? Why would the city want to give that up? I mean, and why would you want to take that on? I mean, if the homeowners association decides that it's a trashy mess, I guarantee they're going to call the city. So why would we want to transfer that, Mr. Henderson?
Well, our discussion.
Let me start out, Gene,
yeah,
and then you can add. Again, the city, looking at this from a couple of perspectives. One is looking at what the original intent was always for the homeowners association to maintain this and own it. So looking at it from that perspective, two perspectives. One on any future improvements. I know Gene's talked about doing aeration, sidewalks, playground equipment, stuff like that in this area. That's something that likely the city is not going to, and as far as I know, has not ever been part of the plan for the city. But the other piece is the maintenance piece of it, to maintain this area. The city has not really, the city's been focused on, actually the city's not been focused on this much at all, because the contractor's responsible still for the upper tract. And quite frankly, Gene, I think you've maintained to some degree the lower tract 2 is what it was called in the original. So from the city's perspective, the benefit is in the maintenance and the improvements being on the private homeowners and property owners in that area. Gene, I know we talked about, you certainly need to fill in the commission from your perspective, but that's my understanding of how this project is supposed to go.
I think one of the reasons we're having this discussion this evening, Dr. Van Hoover, is because it was not fully discussed when Mr. Benson worked with you all when this transacted the first time. And I think they probably just didn't recognize what the vision for the future of it would be. And the more Gerald and I talked about it, I can see the city standpoint that, you know, there's really three issues there. One is asset improvement for that lake. One is maintenance, and another one is liability insurance for you all. So obviously, we can work with you all whichever way you want to decide. But when Gerald and I further discussed it, it made sense that one of our early visions was that 6-acre lake would be a focal aesthetic point for our entire development, with our concept of single-family, multifamily, and commercial all together, where people that are living in the area, working in the area, can also enjoy a park-like atmosphere. So what we would like to do is work on the asset improvement. It'll be seeded. We want to put some aeration, a couple of pretty fountains in there. We'd like to maybe put a sidewalk around that and have some park benches so that the people in the area that are living there can walk over there and kind of have a park-like atmosphere that's going to go along with your park-like atmosphere at the north end. So we're okay with that. We will have a combined group. We've got in our agreement with Walmart that they will participate on a financial basis to, with our homeowners association, Stonebridge in Stonebridge Villages, and also our commercial area, and then also with Jim and Brenda Dill with Esplanade. They're going to, so we're all going to come together as a group to make that a focal point and make it a nice aesthetic improvement area for the development. So again, we're willing to do whatever you all want, but I can see the city's point. You all don't want to mess with the maintenance. You don't want to have to contribute to the asset improvements of doing all that stuff, and you don't want the liability in part of it. So we'll transfer all that to us, and we appreciate, you know, you all are community partners with us. You're developing the infrastructure for the roads and all that. We're doing the development. I'll just make one comment about the gentleman. I certainly feel his anger and his frustration, but he needs to remember that when that happened, this development was not completed with what you all did on the north end. You dug out 6 feet of water, and we now have a controlled water environment that is designed by your engineers. If you have a 10-inch rain, that area to the north is going to hold that water, and it's going to trickle down through our lake and into the overflow pipe and go gently down through that area instead of a massive water moment that caused his problem.
Gene, where is the southern boundary?
Pardon me?
Where is the southern, where does the southern portion begin from the lake?
You're talking about what is the southern boundary of this particular piece of property here? Is that the question?
Oh, the southern boundary of the lake?
It would actually be the northern portion in there. I know that green track too is all.
Can you go to that slide that showed the area we're talking about?
How far north of the lake there does it go?
Right.
What are we transferring? This is what we're transferring?
Okay, yes.
Just the actual deep water lake area, the 6 acres. You all control the north end that starts it. You're
Which is-
simply passing water through our area and then onto the pipe in a high water moment.
The easement that I wrote into this deed that the city retains is actually very broad, just in case that's a concern of yours for drainage purposes. It allows the city to install, erect, construct, operate, maintain, reconstruct, replace stormwater drainage, detention, utilities, and appurtenances, and allows our drainage to run through that lake. So with that easement, other than unless you want it for other purposes, there's no need for the city to have that lake. So.
To answer your question, ma'am, this is where the Walmart site is?
Chris, speak in the mic, please.
I am, sir. Got it. And this is the apartments, and this is the residential.
Okay. Further questions?
Is there any way we could amend that to where we have this in writing, what they're all gonna do with all this parks and all this fancy play work and place stations and?
It's in the agreement.
Hmm?
It was in the agreement that we have been.
I don't see it in here.
Well, one of the reasons is just, I think this is a pretty good idea. I mean, Mr. Anderson makes a good case for it, but we're mixing things up a little bit because that original drawing, go to the one that's the wrong site plan. When that was what we were gonna do, the detention facility was going on the other side of the street. And if you all remember, that it wasn't a flooding issue, and that indeed was nothing more than a very beautiful lake designed for that neighborhood, with the homeowners association dealing with it, and very little water coming into it down that one little skinny track between track 1, 2, and 3 up there. So it's kind of a mixture of some old stuff and some new stuff. Some new stuff, it's not as clear. So that's why I'm not sure why they want to take it on, because at this point, that's the major flood control through there. And that's the city's responsibility. So
Absolutely.
I guess if Mr. Anderson wants to take it on, more power to you, but it's really not, the reason that was structured the way it was in that homeowners, that paragraph of writing up there, that's based on that plan, and that is not what we have today.
Again, we're open to what, I think the question is, when it was originally designed that way, was there ever any intentions for the city to transfer that out? And I think that idea became a recent consideration based on what's happening now and where we're at and what has developed. So we're open, whatever you all want to do.
Well, originally, that was your lake, and you spent all the money to construct that.
Yeah, we did.
That was all your deal based on this plan, and that was great at the time, but now it's flood control.
Yeah,
so.
it was changed.
This isn't what we voted on, though. This
No,
is.
No, but that's when that homeowners association paragraph was drafted. and
That's the
when-
idea that brought up all the thoughts about, do we really want it that way? And that's when we all came together and decided.
Switch sides.
We needed to make that the water retention area and make the change. So.
It all changed when we moved that detention pond to the west side, which caused this change too.
Well, Andrew, if you're comfortable with the easement that you wrote, I don't have any objection to this, I think.
I am, and the structures within that lake, the structures that would allow the water to flow out of that lake belong to the city of Enid, and those will continue to belong to the city of Enid. So the homeowners association can put pretty fountains up or lights, or they can kind of do what they want on the surface, and the city will still control what comes out of that lake and into the city's drainage structures.
That still begs the question, and reinforce us some more, Chris, because the concern that he has is the downside of that drain ditch. So convince me that that's not going to flood on his property anymore now that this is done.
When that originally happened, keep in mind that we had a lot of development in that area. On that piece of property, we had a very localized heavy rain, and everything that came from the north side of the tracks went down the west drainage ditch of Cleveland, turned the corner, and then went down the drainage structure on the south side of Chestnut. That is when the only water going into this facility at that time was the water coming off that commercial development site and a little bit of what was on the apartment side due to natural grade. Immediately after that happened. We diverted all the water coming down the drainage ditch on Cleveland into that structure and used it as a partially constructed detention facility like it was supposed to be done. If you look at the discharge structure and the amount of room there is for the water to get through, the math will tell you it will be no more than what it was before development. That's what we do when we do those. And so all the development that happened on this site has to be accounted for, and all the development, all the runoff that comes from these sites runs into that detention facility before it goes downstream to the south side of Chestnut.
The water
Because I see the construction over there, though, the apartments are tilted towards Cleveland, Walmart Drive and all that tilted towards Cleveland, and then the south side, the new retail structure that's going up, all that all drains into the ditch. That doesn't go into the detention pond. So you're telling me that the math is okay, that when it ends up in that ditch between the Walmart and Cleveland, that runs around the corner and under the street and then directly into his property, that's gonna be okay?
The rainwater that falls on the Walmart building and the Walmart parking lot, the vast majority of that runs into an underground structure and is piped into the detention facility, and then it goes out the discharge facility.
Or Brad's yard.
Or Brad's yard.
And the apartments have a pipe system.
And the apartments pipe it back into that detention facility.
So it's gonna go the other way?
It's gonna go in there, and then it's gonna go out.
Will it come down?
Still ends up going underneath the street and over to the.
It still ends up going underneath the street, but
At a slower controlled rate.
That is very controlled.
Does that mean it comes down the west side of South Cleveland?
Not anymore.
So if it floods again, file your suit.
Further questions, comments?
I hear you, sir.
All right.
Couple comments. The developer did excavate that pond and did develop that. Did offset his stormwater credits because he provided stormwater detention. So he did make the improvements, but it was part of the plan to offset the credits for stormwater. The other part that I think I want to point out, this south stormwater system was always anticipated to be part of the homeowners association, probably because it's surrounded by the association. And just if it stayed in public hands, then it would be open to the public, which I think is one of the items that AC Development probably had a concern about. They didn't mention it, but I think it was one thing they had concerned about, is they want to use that facilities, but if it's open to the public, then they lose control. That was part of the reason of the original layout of the original PUD. But you're right, it was modified to this PUD for the final approval.
We have a motion.
No, sir.
I'll make a motion that we approve this transfer.
Second.
Motion by Ron, second by Aaron. Further discussion? Please cast your vote. Motion carries 5-1. Item 9, consent items.
Motion we approve.
Motion by Aaron,
Ron, did you want to remove, was there one that you wanted to remove?
No.
second by Tammy. Please cast your vote. Motion carries 6-0. Item 10, we will now recess to convene as the Enid Municipal Authority. Item 11, all of the trustees of the Enid Municipal Authority regular meeting are now in attendance except for Ben Ezel. Item 12, the Enid Municipal Authority regular meeting is now in session. Item 12.1, consider a resolution increasing the 2015-2016 fiscal financial plan for the Enid Municipal Authority in the amount of $200,000.
Move approval.
Motion by David, second by Aaron. Please cast your vote. Motion carries 6-0. Item 12.1, approval of claims in the amount of $139,020.53.
Move approval.
Motion by David.
Second.
Second by Aaron. Please cast your vote. Motion carries 6-0. Item 13, we will now adjourn to convene as the Enid Economic Development Authority. Item 14, all of the trustees of the Enid Economic Development Authority are in attendance at the regular meeting except for Ben Ezel, who is absent. Item 15, the Enid Economic Development Authority regular meeting is now in session. Item 15.1, approve and execute a contract with Retail Attractions LLC of Tulsa, Oklahoma to retain and recruit local retail business and increase economic development in the city of Enid in order to protect the city's revenue stream and improve the quality of life for all residents.
Move approval. Go ahead, Tammy.
Motion to approve.
Motion by Tammy,
Second.
second by David. Further discussion? Please cast your vote. Motion carries 6-0. Item 15.1. Hmm? 16, okay. Item 16, we'll now adjourn to convene as the Enid Public Transportation Authority. All of the trustees of the Enid Public Transportation Authority regular meeting are in attendance except for Ben Ezel. Item 18, the Enid, did I go by one? No. Item 18, the Enid Public Transportation Authority regular meeting is now in session. Item 18.1, approval of claims in the amount of $2,357.62.
Approve.
Motion by Aaron. Second by Tammy. Please cast your vote. Motion carries 6-0. Item 19 will now adjourn to reconvene as the Enid City Commission. Item 19, under public discussion, we have one person signed up. Diane. Please state your name and address.
I'm Diane Levesque of 1324 West Oak Avenue. And what has transpired is pretty much run over what I intended to talk about. And that is about the hotel downtown. I will revisit that because what I've heard so far in the study session as well as in the regular session is one thing that all these issues have in common, and that is nobody thought things through quite well enough. Like, for example, I'm going to bring your revenue stream guarantee down to that hotel, prospective hotel downtown. Nobody in the right mind would put a hotel so close within earshot of a railroad track. And it's clear to me, too, that the railroad track causes drainage difficulty. And it is also a problem with trucks. Now, picture somebody in a posh hotel staying there for the event center and is up all night because trains are running through town. Now, even if you want to add insult to injury, he can wake up one morning to find a truck wreck that he can, I mean, there's entertainment right there. I'll grant you that. But you've had revenue drops from what? Hotels, people that you're accommodating, people who would love to visit but wouldn't want to live here. And we're having difficulty with homeowners and the business about bringing in businesses that require rental properties as part of the deal of moving in. Now, if you have homeowners that think that that get the impression that the city commission is waging war on people who own property here, you're not giving them any kind of reason to think otherwise, because basically you are. You're giving priority to people who develop rental properties over people who own individual homes. And you're encouraging businesses that have every intention of hiring whoever occupies the rental properties, but overlook those people who own homes here.
Thank you.
Just have a question. On public discussion, what are our limitations? Andrea, why do we do this? And why can we not respond?
I didn't hear your answer.
You're not required to allow public discussion. You're only required to allow public discussion on the particular items that are on the agenda. A lot of cities around Oklahoma don't allow general public discussion like we do, but this city has chosen to do that.
Is there a reason that that can't change?
No, absolutely, there's no reason it can't change.
We,
Okay, thank
we
you.
can't do anything about it tonight, but it's a good point.
Well, I understand that, but it's seemingly pointless to me, so no disrespect intended, but we can change things.
We do.
Thank you.
A motion to adjourn. Motion by Tammy.
Second.
Second by Rodney. Please cast your vote. Motion carries 6-0. We are adjourned.
Thank you for joining us for the Enid City Commission meeting. If you have any questions or comments, visit our website at enid.org.